Greetings, sailors. Wait a sec. Oh, this is so embarrassing. I'll be right back. Give me a second. Greetings, sailors. I'm Octodron, and welcome to my very first tutorial. As you might know, in my most recent redesign video, I updated my mascot, Taco's design. When I was making my first YouTube video, I found myself struggling to start making my sprites. I felt that I had the general idea what to do, but I was unsure if I was doing it right. Back then, when I looked for a video to help me, I wasn't able to find one. Hopefully, if you're in the same boat that I was in, this video can help you out. This video is mostly aimed at people who want to make their own talk sprites for YouTube videos, but it may also help if you're making sprites for a visual novel or something like that. The first step in this process is doing your research. You should start by gathering references. Think about how you emote and gesture in day-to-day conversations. If you're having trouble, ask someone you know if they ever notice something special about the way you move while talking. For me, when explaining something to someone, I tend to gesticulate wildly in hopes of them understanding me better. Looking for inspiration from visual novel characters that are similar to yourself or the character you're making sprites for can also be helpful. I'd recommend going to the Sprites resource website and browsing their visual novel catalog to find transparent images of the sprites from the game you want to reference. For the characters' expressions, I thought Danganronpa's character sprites had the right energy in how they express emotions. Specifically, I looked at Kazuichi Soda since he shares my character's pointy teeth, and he's one of the more expressive characters in-game. You should also keep in mind things like how much the character you want to show before you start thinking about what poses you want to use. I chose a 3/4 half-body shot of my character because I like to put images on the left side of the screen when making videos. Because of that, I took some inspiration from the Ace Attorney Investigation sprites for the poses. If you're making sprites for YouTube, try taking a look at other art YouTubers. There are a lot of great YouTubers to look into, and the ones on screen are definitely not the only ones. Once you've collected your references, it's time to take a good look at them. What creases and folds on the face do the artists choose to include? How does the face squish and squash with each face they make? Think about more stylistic things too, like sweat drops and face shadows. Don't forget about the importance of body language. What does it mean when a character has their arms crossed versus when they have them open? Think about what kind of posture you want your character to have too. All these details can be a bit overwhelming, but as long as you plan things well, you should be fine. Don't be afraid to physically write things down if you need to, so you don't forget them when actually making the sprites. Now it's time for the second step, planning. First, you should think about and write down all emotions that you need for your purposes. Writing them down is important so you can make sure you don't forget one. If you express a certain emotion a lot, make sure to make more of that type of sprite, for variety's sake. For example, most of the time when I'm talking, I'm happy, so I made 3 or so of that type of sprite. If you're like a rant or a drama channel, you might want to make more angry or disappointed faces. Next, you'll want to think about the main poses you'll want to use. This is where you'll use what you learned in the last section about body language. I went with 2 pretty basic poses. I'd recommend that you make 2 to 4 base sprites that you can draw the different expressions on top of. If your character is very expressive and you're ready to commit to the work, you can do like as many as you want. I'm not gonna stop you. You might want to add some details that change from sprite to sprite. For instance, in my first pose, I left the hand out of the base sprite and drew different poses for each expression for the hand. Maybe your character has a haunted stuffed animal that emotes along with them, or animal ears that perk up or flatten down with their emotions. These little elements can add a lot to a character and help them stand out. Now it's time for step 3, actually doing the dang thing. When I made my document, I used a 1920 by 1080 pixel canvas, so when I drop the image onto the timeline, I don't have to move it around or resize it. When sketching, I put the character where I wanted it to be in the final video. Unless you're drawing fully unique poses for every expression, Naming and grouping your layers is extremely important for your workflow. Unless you're giving the sprites to someone else, the names of the layers only really have to make sense to you. Since my art style is pretty simple and cartoony, it's pretty easy for me to just redraw each expression. But if your style is a bit more complex than mine, I'd recommend getting familiar with the liquify tool. Now all that's left to do is export each expression as a PNG. Voila! You're ready to start making your video. Of course, you can always come back later and add more expressions or poses, or change the old ones. But for now, I hope this video could have helped you out with any problems you had or give you some ideas of where to start. As always, don't forget to octo-like and squid-scribe. Bye bye and best fishes.